What never fails to make you tear up or cry? Land Before Time, when his mother is giving him the speech, when he's shouting his mother, "Oh man," feels. Watching Fox and the Hound, I was watching the part where she releases Todd with my 5-year-old daughter, her with a catch on her voice asking why, me explaining, her in tears saying she'll take him, she'll take care of him. Now I cry every damn time. Can't Help Falling in Love, Elvis, was supposed to be the song my sister and her fiancé danced to at her wedding. Instead it was played walking into the church, at his funeral, after he took his own life. My poor sis was so strong that day, but that song still gets us both. The end of Homeward Bound, especially when Shadow says "Peter, you're okay," like, they went through all of that and almost died multiple times and Shadow was just glad to know Peter was okay, gets me every time. I'm a member of a 12-step program, and in meetings we give out chips or keychains for different amounts of clean, sober time, after giving out multiple years, 1 year, 6 months, etc. etc. The meeting chair will ask if there's anyone new or coming back, relapsed and is returning to the program, who wants to take a 24-hour chip. When anyone gets up and takes their 24 hours chip, the room invariably gives them the loudest applause and cheers and welcomes them back. The whole room knows how much courage it takes to come back and how scary it can be to get up and walk to the front of the room for that chip. It's such a beautiful thing to see, and it makes me cry every time. Thinking about how poorly I treated my dad when he was still alive. He was always trying to find things in common with me to connect with me. When I found out he liked something I also liked, I just changed my mind and found it uncool. I looked down on the TV shows he liked and didn't realize until later that he had an awesome taste for quality campy television like The Adventures of Briscoe County Jr. and other classics from that era of 90s syndicated television. If I knew him now, he'd be my best friend. I did try to connect with him in the last few years of his life, but he had dementia by then and couldn't follow things I knew he would have found interesting before. His last words to me were "it hurts," while I held his hand during catheterization on his last trip to the hospital. I was too embarrassed from seeing his penis to offer any true comfort. Strategically placed albums from my youth. If I am half drunk and someone begins to play the album Four Cornered Night by Jets to Brazil, I will become uncharacteristically nostalgic, and then openly sob at the idea of how good I was at being 18 years old, versus how shitty I am at being 38 years old. Getting old is weird. It's not your fault. Good Will Hunting, that's all I wanted to hear as a kid and growing up. Watching it for the first time, it felt like the whole scene was written for me down to the photos and the "fuck him." Robin Williams is great, but Matt Damon's vulnerability was a scene stealer. I literally am physically incapable of reading this poem without shedding a tear. Do not stand at my grave and weep, I am not there. I do not sleep. I am 1,000 winds that blow. I am the diamond glints on snow. I am the sunlight on ripened grain. I am the gentle autumn rain. When you awaken in the morning's hush, I am the swift uplifting rush of quiet birds in circled flight. I am the soft stars that shine at night. Do not stand at my grave and cry. I am not there. I did not die. Somebody getting something they deserve, in a good way. I always cry at the end of Undercover Boss when I used to watch it. It's so nice seeing hard workers rewarded. I know I'm a total chump and it's probably fake, but I don't care. The scene where Riley hugs her parents in Inside Out. At the time the movie came out, it hit way too close to home. I just moved away from all my friends that I had and I felt alone for the first time in my life, so I know exactly what she was going through. Also, if you're a wrestling fan, the Eddie Guerrero tribute package they made the week he died, The one with Johnny Cash playing. Last one, when the Grinch is crying over his mom dying on the animated special. Seeing this scene as a little kid made me bawl. It hits different too, especially if you don't have a good relationship with your mom or if your mom is unfortunately no longer with us. The Grinch. Remember your mother. The thought that my cat's previous owner almost overdosed him on heroin to stop his girlfriend leaving him. Background: my wife was a caseworker for homeless and drug addicts in the UK. She had a couple who were both heroin addicts and they had Yancy, the cat. The girlfriend threatened to leave him. He was big, fearsome Lithuanian called Elvis, and he picked up Yancy and held a syringe to him. Wife punched him in the face, grabbed Yancy and brought him home, and we've looked after him since and given him the best life we can. The luckiest, Ben Folds. When I was 15, I told my then best friend that I wanted the first dance at my wedding to be to this song, and that I wanted to be dancing with her. She laughed me off. 11+ years later, we'll be getting married this September, and you can bet your ass we'll be dancing to The Luckiest in front of our wedding guests. We've been engaged for almost 18 months already, and every time this comes up in my Spotify shuffle I just lose it. There's this book my daughter has called Once There Were Giants. It's about a little girl growing up. Each page is a different stage of her life, and at the end she's a grown-up. She gets married and has a baby. The line that I discovered for some reason I cannot read without crying is, "And then we had a little girl, and things changed." I'm crying now because I'm thinking about that book and I typed it out. Whenever my addict daughter gets arrested, 4 times in the last 2 weeks, whenever I look at a picture of her, whenever I remember a memory of her when she was little and she was still my angel, whenever I try to think of something I could do to help her and realize that I've already done everything a parent can do, and it hasn't helped, I cry when it gets cold out, and wonder if she is stuck out the night somewhere, cold and lonely. I cry when I look at her 8-year-old daughter, that my wife and I are raising. I cry a lot lately. This going to get buried, but I need to get it off my chest. It's my kids. When they were little, my mom had a brain aneurysm. My dad spiraled into a deep depression and they lost their home and business. At the same time, my mother-in-law has a stroke and my in-laws' finances collapsed and they were on the verge of losing their home too. So I worked crazy hard to be everyone's rock. I worked multiple jobs to help out my family. When I wasn't working, I was taking care of them emotionally and physically. I so drained that I didn't have much left to give to my kids. I missed soccer games and school plays and trick-or-treating and first words and countless other things. Thankfully, my wife was there for them, so they got to experience all the good things in childhood. I just wasn't there for it. Even when I was physically present, I was exhausted and cranky. Now they are teenagers and don't want to be around me. I just want to hold their hands, tell them that I love them and do something fun with them, anything at all. I just want to be with them, but my chance to hold them, teach them new things and experience the amazing joys of childhood with them are long gone. It tears me up inside. I'm bawling on the couch right now typing this. Yes, all the work paid off, amazingly. Both my mom and mother-in-law are alive, with physical impairments. My parents lost their house and business, but they're in place that works for them. And my in-laws went through bankruptcy but were able to keep their house. I'm glad it worked out, but God. It hurts thinking about what I missed. Thinking of that abandoned little kitten I found. I called him Mortimer. Tried to keep him alive, bottle feeding him, keeping him warm, skin to skin, staying awake through most of the night, calling in sick day after day to stay with Kitty. Emergency vet scheduling with them saying he probably won't make it. Kitty didn't make it. It's when my oldest cat slowly stalked up to the cat, nudging her nose against Mortimer's head. Mortimer didn't move, didn't react. I put him in a shoebox with his blanket, so he would not be cold, buried him and left a little pebble for a tombstone. That was 20 years ago. I'm sorry, Mortimer, I couldn't save you. One particular patient I had working in a trauma center. 19-year-old girl I'd never seen before, and didn't know at all. She was ejected from a vehicle and then crushed because her boyfriend was trying to show off. I was training new staff, and they were at the end of their training, so I was only in the room to provide supervision and step in if necessary, and I spent the entire trauma holding her hand, on her request, and trying to comfort her and keep her mind off of the injuries to both of her legs. Her last words were spoken directly to me: "This really hurts. Can I go to sleep?" I cried for days after. I've never had a patient's death hit me as hard before or after. Against All Odds by Phil Collins. My parents were going through a divorce when that song came out and was played constantly on the radio. I cry for how my dad felt. His beautiful wife leaving him still hurts so bad, like being stabbed in the heart. That song captures it. Hearing about, seeing children who are being abused. As a person who was emotionally abused in childhood, it absolutely breaks me to hear about children who are suffering. Although I'm not particularly fond of children, as sometimes their tantrums and rudeness can be irritating, I certainly believe that no child, no matter how badly behaved or not, deserves abuse. I sometimes just want to sweep them up into my arms and take them away from it and show them what love is. Probably a lot of parts of Howl's Moving Castle or Spirited Away and other Ghibli movies. As soon as these first notes and the intro begin to fade and I'm tearing up. Also Grave of the Fireflies. Even just thinking about it makes me tear up, and then watching it will probably make me cry again. The ending monologue of movie The Shawshank Redemption. I find I'm so excited I can barely sit still or hold a thought in my head. I think it's the excitement only a free man can feel, a free man at the start of a long journey whose conclusion is uncertain. I hope I can make it across the border. I hope to see my friend and shake his hand. I hope the Pacific is as blue as it has been in my dreams. I hope. The song The Ghost of You by My Chemical Romance. And if it's the music video, I'm sure as HLL sobbing already. It reminds me of my deceased grandmother. We were very close, and it gives me a guilty feeling, since I never got to give her a final goodbye. Today marks 5 years since I lost my best friend to cancer, and I feel guilty for not letting her know how much I love her before it was too late. The scene in Monsters, Incorporated when Kitty takes Boo back to her room and she's excitedly showing off her toys. No idea she can't see him anymore. Then he leaves, she goes to open the closet door and he's gone and they're shredding her door. I sob uncontrollably every single time. I'm 31. Videos of kids who are passionate about, for example, Disney stories and go in costume to a park where the actors are fully engaged with the kid. The combination of passion and sharing a moment with strangers just warms my cold COVID lockdown heart. The scene in Pay It Forward with all the endless line of cars coming to pay their respects to Trevor. The funeral scene in My Girl. His glasses. Where are his glasses? ? He can't see without his glasses. When Jojo finds his mother in Jojo Rabbit, and the scene immediately after when he goes home. Also when the Colonel shoves him away to save him at the almost end. That's all I can think of right now. For context, I'm a pretty emotionally distant person and it takes a lot for me to show emotion other than the baseline stuff. No crying, no joy, no anger, just a pleasant baseline around center. It's hard for me to make connections with people, it's hard to maintain friendships, it's incredibly hard to have any level of romance in my life because I'm not someone who trusts other people easily. Couple of years back I went to Nashville to visit a friend who's a guitarist and plays shows with other bands as a stand-in on Broadway, and I went to visit him since I was in the area. Some of the bars were closing down, but he had a friend who owned one and they wanted to have a small jam sesh together and let me tag along. There was a waitress who decided to stay after work, have her free drink and meal and just chill with us cause she was friends with the drummer of the group. They start doing some old school country in a low-lit bar, all the tables pushed to the sides, chairs upside down on them and the middle eating area basically begging us to be a dance floor. The waitress asked me if I wanted to dance and I just kinda nodded. I don't dance, I don't know how to dance, I have never danced before that. She grabs my hand and we clumsily dance till we catch a groove. Later on in the night they start playing a cover of Gentle on My Mind by John Hartford, nice and sullen and slow, and we start slow dancing together. There's not much in this world that breaks me, but swaying under incandescent bulbs to that song in an empty bar brought every single strong emotion to the forefront of my heart, and I began silently crying while swaying this woman against me. She eventually noticed cause a tear must have hit her shoulder or something and didn't say anything to anyone else, but the entire rest of the time I was there she tagged along with me and my buddy to everywhere we went. It was one of the only times in my entire adult life someone had taken my emotions and not shamed me for them, made me feel like less of a man for showing them, allowed me to vent them even without using words. Unfortunately a relationship wasn't in the cards, but we still keep in contact regularly. Best week of my entire adult life. Some nights I'll stay up thinking about it. I know this probably won't be read, but I recently lost my dog a few hours ago. He was with me for 14 years. We grew up together. I wish I had spent more time with him, but I'll cherish the memories I made. I can't stop crying. It feels like a piece of me is missing. I miss him already. When I think of my dog, he was my best friend and every day I wish he was here again. It's been about a year and a half and it still breaks my heart. He taught me so many life lessons and made me who I am today. It was an honor to live side by side with such a fantastic being. Little Miss Sunshine. When the kid finds out he's colorblind and can't join the Air Force, the agony of losing the one thing that kept you going. The one thing that brought you joy and hope in life. Just thinking about it now even makes me tear up. Planet. I don't think there's much worse than your dog they're dying after years of being estranged and finally making up. She was a sweet cinnamon roll and once she finally got the dad that she deserved. Damn. I think most people who aren't heartless monsters get emotional at the end of Titanic. Especially when the old couple are on the bed holding each other. But did you notice that the woman looks afraid and anxious and her husband is trying to comfort her? I only noticed the last time I watched and it gutted me. It always somehow didn't seem so bad when I didn't notice how scared they looked. Videos of pets in which they react to their owner coming home after a long time. Usually from military service. I mean, it is cute when the family realizes it, but have you ever seen a giant dog jumping into its owner's arms because of happiness? Something I read on Tumblr a few years ago. It goes something like this: on the day of the 9/11 attack, the schools were called off and teachers were waiting with the middle schoolers to be picked up by their parents to take them home. One student is left out and the teacher asks why her parents weren't there yet and she says they won't come because they were in the tower too. Makes me tear up every time I think of it. Remembering my son before he was diagnosed as autistic, not being able to talk, but being so happy. There's a memory and a video of him dancing along to the ballroom scene in Beauty and the Beast. and every time I think of it I cry. He just held his hands and span in a circle. My lovely little boy. When Anne Hathaway sings I Dreamed a Dream, in Les Miserables, I have to cover my face from my wife and kids because God help me, there's no way to not bawl like a child. Brutal. If you've not seen it, you have been warned. https://b/aljxib5i_q0, edit. Damn it, watched it again and now I have to make sure to have a good excuse for why my eyes are all red. Well, I don't know what will happen now. We've got some difficult days ahead, but it really doesn't matter with me now, because I've been to the mountain top, and I don't mind. Like anybody, I would like to live a long life. Longevity has its place, but I'm not concerned about that now. I just want to do God's will, and He's allowed me to go up to the mountain, and I've looked over, and I've seen the promised land. I may not get there with you, but I want you to know tonight that we, as a people, will get to the promised land, so I'm happy tonight. I'm not worried about anything. I'm not fearing any man. Mine eyes have seen the glory of the coming of the Lord. Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King, Jr., April 3, 1968.